Now. Okay, so thank you all for joining us today for the Accepting SNAP at Your Farm or Farmers Market webinar. We're super excited to be doing this presentation. It's been a couple years since City Green has hosted an Accepting SNAP training webinar or conference. We used to do this in person, so we're excited to be doing it again. Some things have changed in the process. And to have Lisa Newcomb from Crops joining us as well. She has some great experience in getting their market set up to accept SNAP and FMP, so we're going to hear from her about their experience. So I'm going to share my screen here. Okay, welcome to the training. So just for some background on who we are, City Green is an urban farming and gardening nonprofit organization. We're based in Clifton, New Jersey, and we run a whole host of programs related to agriculture and education to connect people to food and nature. And one of the things that we work on is creating equitable access to healthy food all over New Jersey. So as part of that, we are, helping farmers and markets be able to accept SNAP and WIC benefits. So I'm Lisa Martin. I'm the Director of Food Access here at City Green. And we also have Jasmine Moriano, our Director of Community Engagement and Advocacy here. And so just a quick overview of what today is going to look like. We're going to talk about what SNAP is and just start bare bones. What is SNAP? Who is using SNAP? And why should you think about accepting it at your farmer's market or your farm, and some different things to consider in that process. And then we're going to get into the nitty gritty of how to become a SNAP authorized retailer. We're going to go through the application process, options for getting EBT card reader equipment, and some different ways to implement SNAP at your market, some helpful tips. Jasmine's going to share with us some outreach and media advice for reaching a SNAP audience. And then we'll hear from Lisa from Crops at the end about their experience in becoming SNAP authorized and taking SNAP at their market. And we'll do a Q&A at the end. If you have questions along the way, you can put them into the chat box or save them for the end, and we'll get to them at the end of the presentation. So what is SNAP? SNAP is the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. Years ago, it was known as the Food Stamp Program, but today it's known as SNAP. And it is a nutrition assistance program administered by the USDA Food and Nutrition Service. It's the nation's largest domestic hunger safety net, and people apply for SNAP and receive SNAP benefits through their county board of social services. So it's a federal program, but it's administered more locally on the county level. Every state has a different name for their SNAP program. In New Jersey, we call it Families First. And the Families First card looks like this blue debit card here in the bottom left-hand corner. It's got our state bird and a lighthouse on it. And SNAP is administered through what they call EBT, which just stands for Electronic Benefits Transfer. That's just a fancy way of saying it's a debit card system. So you might hear the terms SNAP, EBT, and Families First used interchangeably. Okay. So something I also just wanted to mention is pandemic EBT. So this is a new type of EBT that was administered as a result of the pandemic, and it comes on these white cards, New Jersey PEBT, and this was issued to households that had kids that would normally receive free or reduced priced school meals. As of now, PEBT benefits are still being issued in New Jersey at least through October. They may or may not extend beyond that. But just a heads up, you may also see this type of SNAP card And it functions the same as your standard Families First card, that blue one that we just showed you. It just looks a little bit different, but it functions exactly the same. So that's just something to be aware of. Okay, so what does SNAP look like? Who's using SNAP? Across the country, we have almost 42 million people every month who receive SNAP benefits. And in New Jersey, it's over 863,000 people on average every month who are receiving SNAP benefits. So it's a big portion of our population. In terms of SNAP households, about 64% of households that receive SNAP have kids in them, and almost half of them have older adults or disabled family members in their household. And most SNAP households are working families as well. And when we're looking at like how much money is administered on a SNAP card, it's an average of about $160 per person per month. So that's $160 in extra food dollars that each person who is eligible is receiving. And that works out to about a little over $5 per day in extra food benefits. So this is meant to boost people's spending power. It's not meant to be their entire grocery budget, but it does help bridge the gap for low-income families. And SNAP, like we said, is a nutrition assistance program. So SNAP can only be used for food products. So this is a list of eligible SNAP foods, and most food products are eligible to be purchased with SNAP. So anything from breads and cereals, fruits, vegetables, and herbs, meats, poultry, seafood, dairy products, seeds and food producing plants. So this is especially relevant for farms and farmers markets. If you're selling tomato seedlings, people can purchase that with their SNAP dollars. They can't purchase flowers like zinnias or something, but any food producing plants can be purchased with SNAP benefits. Spices can be purchased, coffee beans, tea leaves or tea bags, and then soft drinks, candy, cookies, ice cream are also SNAP eligible. The only exception to those items are if those are single serve. So one of the regulations around SNAP is that you cannot purchase single serve or hot prepared foods with your SNAP card. So farmers markets, I always like to give the examples that we see more often. So you can buy a jar of pickles with your SNAP benefits, but not a pickle on a stick as a snack because that's a single serve item. You can buy a bag of frozen empanadas to take home, but you can't buy a hot prepared empanada to eat at the market. And so, you know, unprepared to your coffee, you can't buy a hot coffee to drink there, but if you're going to take beans home to prepare, that's okay. Any non-food items are not allowed, so no pet foods, no household supplies, no vitamins or medicines or supplements, beer, wine, liquor, cigarettes, all of that is not SNAP eligible. If you're unsure if something is SNAP eligible, you can always contact us at City Green, or you can contact the USDA to check. But a lot of the products that you have at your farm and farmers market will be SNAP eligible. Jams and jellies, honey, all that stuff can be purchased with SNAP. So what does SNAP look like at farmers markets? You may know that you can use SNAP at a ton of different retailers, right? Like most grocery stores take SNAP, your corner stores and bodegas usually take SNAP, Walmart, all those places. But it's less known that SNAP can be used at farmers markets. So what does that actually look like? So in New Jersey, we have about 56 farmers and farmers markets that are authorized to take SNAP, which is a relatively small number. So we're very excited that you all are joining us today to increase that number. We have, you know, hundreds of farmers markets in our state. We're the garden state, and not that many take SNAP. So we're very happy you're here to up that. Across the country, there's a little over 3,200 farmers markets that take SNAP. And you know, SNAP money at your farmers market, that's more money going directly to local farmers and local vendors. And it's providing more fresh and nutritious food, local food to families in your community. So there's a lot of benefits to taking SNAP at your market. So why should you accept SNAP? And what are some things you should think about as you're going through this process? Well, it broadens your customer base. So you're opening your doors to a whole new group of people that might not otherwise shop, because if they're using SNAP benefits as their primary grocery dollars, and your market doesn't accept SNAP, they can only shop at your grocery stores. So you're increasing your customer base and your sales, you're increasing food equity, and making your market more equitable and inclusive and welcoming to everyone in your community, and helping to build a healthier community by making fresh food and local food more accessible. Some things to consider is if food security and food access is part of your market's mission. So while we encourage every farm and farmers market to take SNAP, if this is not part of your mission and is totally out of your wheelhouse, you may want to consider if this is something you really want to pursue. If you're a nonprofit run farmers market, or you have a board, is your board dedicated to making this happen and investing in food access for your community? You also really want to consider the capacity of your market. It does take some staffing and administrative capacity, as well as funding, to make a SNAP program happen. There's expenses such as equipment and staff time. So you want to make sure that you are prepared to actually take SNAP at the market in terms of your resources. And community demand. Is there a need or demand from customers for having EBT at your market? I'll note that most communities have families who use SNAP in them. So it is likely, even if you haven't seen them at your market yet, it's likely that there is some level of demand, but you might want to do an assessment or talk with your local food pantry and food bank to see what kind of demand is there. And are you eligible? So most farms and farmers markets are eligible. The USDA uses 2 different criteria to authorize fresh or any kind of retailer, food retailers. Farms and farmers markets are typically authorized under Criterion B, which just means that over half of your retail sales come from staple foods. And staple foods include fruits and vegetables, meat, poultry, fish, dairy products, and breads and cereals. So most farmers and farmers markets, you'll be authorized under that criterion, and it's usually not an issue to meet that criterion. Okay, so now we're going to talk about how do you become a SNAP authorized retailer. So Jasmine and I are very excited to share this new resource that we just created, which is live as of this morning. So we created this workbook that you can follow along with to go through these different steps of becoming a SNAP authorized farm or farmers market. I will click into this real quick so you can see. If you go to goodfoodbucks.com on our resources page, you can download this workbook, and it walks you through the different steps of becoming SNAP authorized. And there's a page at the end to take notes and keep track of your application as you go. So you can follow along with this. We're going to be reviewing this now through our presentation. Okay, so we have the 7-step guide. I also want to note that the USDA is the only agency that can authorize a retailer to take SNAP benefits. So City Green is not the USDA. This is not a USDA presentation. We're here to help you navigate that application process, but there's no shortcut. You do have to go through the USDA to accept SNAP benefits. So the first step is determining your application type. The USDA offers 2 different application types. One is for farmers markets and one is a store application. So if you are a farmers market, which means you have one location with multiple vendors, they call it a multi-stall market, you're considered a farmers market by USDA definition, and you should fill out the farmers market application. If you're a farmer or a CSA, and you're your own producer, your own grower, you are considered what they call a direct marketing farmer. We abbreviate that DMF, and you're going to fill out the store application. That also, so farmers, farm stands, farmer booths, mobile markets, and CSA programs are all going to fill out the store application. So when you go in to fill out your application, you're going to see these 2 options, store and farmers market. So just make sure you're selecting the right one. Again, farmers markets, fill out the farmers market application. Farmers are going to fill out the store application. I wanted to make a note about CSAs. I don't know if we have any farmers that run CSAs in the session today. CSA programs can accept SNAP benefits. You are eligible to apply and become SNAP authorized. However, SNAP payments cannot be made in advance. They have to be made at the time the food is exchanged. So if you have a CSA program where people are ordering at the start of the season and they pay monthly, that's not an option with SNAP shoppers. They will have to sign up and pay at the time they're picking up their food. An exception to this rule is that if you are a nonprofit run CSA, SNAP payments can be made up to 14 days in advance. They still have to be made in person, but they can be taken up to 2 weeks in advance. So just make a note of that. If you're a CSA and you're trying to take SNAP, there are some different regulations around it. And at this time, SNAP payments cannot be made online for farmers markets, CSAs, or farmers. If you have an online marketplace, you cannot take SNAP payments online. And the main reason for that is because it's a debit-based system. So every SNAP user has a PIN number that they have to enter, and online platforms don't have that functionality. You know, the USDA is working on a pilot program to implement that over the next couple of years, but right now it is not an option for farmers markets or farmers or CSAs. Okay, so the first step after you figure out which application type you're applying for is to create a USDA e-authentication account. So you're going to go to the USDA website and register to create an account. And most of you are going to select this customer user type. The only exception is if you happen to be a USDA or federal employee, you'll have to go through a different registration process. But if you're not a USDA employee, you're going to choose customer. And this is like creating any online account. You're going to create a username and a password. Okay, so once you've created your account, the next step is to gather all your information and documents that you're going to need to fill out your application. So a lot of this is really basic stuff. Once you have the stuff ready, the application doesn't take a super long time. So you need your contact information, your market location and mailing address. You will need your market sales data. So if you've been open for more than 1 year, you should use your retail sales from last year's tax return. Yeah, total retail sales, wholesale sales are not included in this number. If you have been open for less than 1 year, you can provide like a good faith estimate of what you imagine your sales to be. This is one of the sections where the farmers market application and the store application differ. So if you're a farmers market, you can provide an estimated retail sales number, which would be you would basically multiply how many vendors you have, average number of sales per vendor, and the number of days you're open. So you're providing a good faith estimate of your total retail sales of all items at your market. You'll also be asked to break down your food inventory by types of food. So for many of you, you're going to have 100% of your food inventory come from staple foods. If you're a farmer and you're primarily selling fruits and vegetables and poultry and dairy, you're going to have 100% staple foods. They also ask for percentage of like hot prepared foods, cold foods, accessory foods. So if you have those items as well, you'll need to enter that. But you should be able to give an approximate estimate of your food inventory types. You'll fill out your market's operating schedule and your financial institution name. So this is going to be where your SNAP dollars are deposited into when you're swiping SNAP cards. Where's that money going? You're going to give your bank information. And if you have it, your EBT equipment provider. If you don't have that equipment yet, you don't need to fill that section out. Okay, and then in addition to the information, we're going to need to provide some documentation. So depending on how your market is, this, tax type and entity type of your market, you're going to have different information. So a LLC, partnership, sole proprietorship, or privately held corporation, that differs from a nonprofit versus a government-owned market or farm. All of these market types need someone who's the designated responsible official. So you're going to select someone from your organization that you imagine is going to be there for a longer term and is comfortable being the primary person responsible for making sure the regulations are followed. They're the main contact person and kind of the lead on your SNAP acceptance. They're going to need to sign a statement and a certification that'll be online in your application process. They'll have to sign off on all that, as well as provide their personal information. So their name and address and date of birth and contact information for all entity types. Here's where it starts to differ a little bit depending on how you're run. If you're a nonprofit or an LLC, you do need to provide a color copy photo ID of the responsible official. That requirement is waived for government-owned farms or markets. The Social Security card of the responsible official is also required for LLC or privately owned markets or farms. For nonprofits and government-owned, you do not need to provide the Social Security card. You will need to provide the Social Security number of the responsible official, but you don't need to upload the card. If your farmer market has a business license, you should upload that as well. However, that's optional and may not apply to you. And if you're a nonprofit, you should upload your 501c3 determination letter. If you're government owned, you need your government ownership letter. So yeah, in your workbook, you'll have this checklist and you can peruse and figure out which documents you need and be able to scan and upload these into the USDA online portal. So once you have all that, you're going to go in and fill out your application. So the questions kind of mirror all that information we just went through. If you're having issues in the application, you can call this SNAP Retailer Service Center. They're actually pretty helpful. I know a lot of times these service centers are not helpful. This one we have found typically is, if you're having any issues with them, let City Green know because we have a contact that we can put you in touch with directly. These guides are also really helpful. I'm going to take a quick second to show them. There's an organization called MarketLink, which has created these really great question by question guides for both farmers markets and farmers. So these will be linked in the presentation and in the workbook. But if you go to those links, you will find this SNAP Retailer Application Guide, and it walks you through every single question and what you will need and like how to approach every single question. So they give you screenshots of the online application and what each question looks like. So we definitely recommend looking through those. Like I said, there's one for farmers markets and for direct marketing farmers. So check those out if you're having trouble with any of the questions within the application. All right, so then you've submitted your application, you've uploaded all your documents. Next thing to do is wait. So it typically takes 45 to 60 days for these applications to process. If you haven't had any updates after 4 weeks, you should give them a call and check in. It shouldn't take any longer than 5 weeks usually. And if it's hitting the 5-week mark, oftentimes they'll expedite your application process. But you can check the status of your application in your USDA account that you created at the start. So keep an eye on that. And whoever submitted the application, they'll be the ones receiving emails with updates. So make sure they're monitoring their emails as well. If they're missing any information from you, the USDA will request that. And then you'll get your SNAP certificate, your Food and Nutrition Service number, your FNS number. That's key to keep track of. It's a 7-digit number. So make sure you keep those in a safe place and make a copy. And your authorization is good for 5 years. So you're going to want to mark your calendars for 5 years from the date you get your authorization that you need to renew. You will get letters in the mail to remind you to renew, but it's good to have a note of it as well. Hey, congratulations, you're SNAP authorized. So now we're going to talk about getting set up to actually process SNAP transactions at the market. So the main piece of this is getting your SNAP EBT card reader equipment, and there's a couple different options for doing so. We recommend starting with the 2 free options to see which one is best for you. And if one of those free options isn't a good fit for you, you can purchase or lease your own equipment. So the first option is to get free equipment from the state of New Jersey Department of Human Services. And so the equipment that they provide is this PAX A80. Farmers markets have given good feedback about this equipment. So it is, an updated 4G, 5G compatible card reader. So once you get your SNAP authorization and your FNS number from the USDA, you're going to contact DeWanda Kelly at the Department of Human Services with your FNS number, the name and address of your market, and your contact information. She'll walk you through the process of how to get set up with the free equipment. And the equipment is good for the duration of the state's contract, which currently is 5 years. So you'll have free equipment for that duration. So this is a really good option to start with. If you'd like us to make an introduction to DeWanda on your behalf, we'd be happy to do so. She's very helpful. The second option is to get free equipment from this national program called MarketLink. MarketLink will cover, for eligible farmers markets and farmers, will cover the cost of 1 year to the Total Pay Go app and Bluetooth card reader. So this is what we call a bring your own device program. It means you need to bring your own smart tablet or smartphone to process transactions, and they'll give you the card reader attachments to be able to process EBT. So you will need to apply with them at marketlink.org to see if you qualify and get free equipment through them. And that is a 1-year option. And then the last option is to purchase or lease your own EBT card reader equipment. There's a lot of different options out there, including the ones we just went over. You are able to purchase those on your own. At City Green, we use this one. It's an Ingenico Verifone. We're happy with it. It works fine. So you want to think of this as like getting, like when you purchase a cell phone, you need a cell phone and a service provider. Like you go to Verizon and get your cell phone plan and you get your iPhone. This is a similar process where you need a service provider and a device. There's a lot of different options to explore. The workbook we linked has a lot of different resources that detail these equipment options, but things you want to consider are, do you want to take only SNAP EBT, or do you also want to incorporate credit and debit through the device? What kind of funding do you have? The price for these equipment really ranges and runs the gamut. Could be anywhere from like $100 per season to $1,500 per season. And most service providers also have options to either purchase or lease your equipment. So if you're only open for a couple months per year, you might opt to lease your equipment for those few months rather than purchasing it for the long term. So you'll just want to explore the different contract options that you have with your EBT provider. Something else I wanted to talk about today was processing manual vouchers. So if you're taking EBT, and as we know at farmers markets, sometimes technology doesn't work. You get a rainy day, you're in a parking lot where there's no service. You can still run an EBT transaction over the phone using these manual vouchers. So these you can either get from your service provider or from goebt.com. You can just like order a pack of them. And essentially you're filling out the customer's card information on this voucher. You have to call this hotline while they're there and run the transaction over the phone. It's an automatic recording. It'll walk you through like keying in the card number and the amount that you're charging them. And then they get a copy of this voucher. You keep a copy and you're good to go. You do have to, what they call, clear these vouchers on your machine. So once you're back and you have your machine plugged in, it's connected, you will have to enter the voucher on your equipment as well to actually get the SNAP payment. Your card reader should have an option for a manual voucher entry. All right, so if you're a farmer, you're ready to go. You can start taking SNAP. You have your authorization, you have your equipment, your manual vouchers. Start taking SNAP. So you want to let your shoppers know that you're taking SNAP now by posting signage. Jasmine's going to show us some other ways to reach SNAP customers and get the word out. A really important thing is that you want to train your cashiers and make sure that they all know what can be purchased with SNAP, how to process a manual voucher, and how to process a SNAP transaction on your card reader. Farmers markets, you have a little bit more work to do still. So I'm going to quickly review some options because you're going to be taking SNAP on behalf of all of your vendors, right? So you need to set up some kind of token and reimbursement system with those vendors to make this happen. So one option is called the swipe first method. This is kind of the most common and recommended way to process SNAP as a farmer's market, but not the only way. And essentially how this works is a SNAP shopper is going to come to you at the market manager table first, when they first come to the market, and they're going to say, hey, I want to spend $10 on my SNAP card today. You're going to swipe their card for $10 and give them some kind of currency to represent that $10. So the most common thing that you see is wooden nickels. You can also use paper scrip. We have these sample good food bucks here at City Green. Another option is printing like embossed business cards, but typically you're going to see tokens, and I'm going to quickly show you where you can get those tokens. If you go to Old Time Wooden Nickel Company in San Antonio, Texas, they specifically work with farmers markets. You'll see this tab here. They'll give you a discount and price estimates. And there's all kinds of options for like colors and logos and fonts and everything. So this is like their bread and butter. So we recommend them. There's other token printers as well. You could go with the local print shop, but this is the most common place to get your wooden tokens. Okay, so you've given your shopper that $10 to represent the dollars that you swiped from their SNAP card. They've got $10 in tokens to go shop. They're going to go spend this with Farmer Joe. Let's say they spent all $10 with Farmer Joe that day. At the end of the day, Farmer Joe is going to hand these tokens that he received back into you as the market manager, and you're going to reimburse them for any SNAP dollars spent with them that day. So you're going to need some kind of reimbursement system, either through check or cash, however your market operates, and you'll want to keep track of all those reimbursements as well. So this is just a quick overview of SNAP currency. So these tokens that you're going to order represent real SNAP dollars, right? This came off of someone's debit card, so we treat it like real money. It can only be used for SNAP eligible items. There's no daily limit or expiration date, right? Like you wouldn't have an expiration date on a $5 bill. Same applies here. You have to be able to issue refunds to the customer if requested. Your machine should have a refund option on it. So just make sure you're prepared to do so, and they'll give you the tokens back and you put the money back on their card. You cannot give any change for these in any other currency form. So let's say you have a $5 token and the customer is only getting $3 of food. You can't give them $2 in cash change. You can give them token change, but not cash change. So just be aware you can't exchange any other currency type for SNAP tokens. And you're just going to want to keep a record of your token inventory. Like I said, these represent real money. So you want to know at any given moment how many tokens and SNAP dollars are out in circulation. So you're going to want to take your token inventory at the start of the market and at the end of the market throughout the whole season. So you know how many you have with you and how many are out there in the world. Another option is a receipt system. I'm just going to breeze through this. It's less common, but we do know plenty of farmers markets use this system. It's a few more steps. In this kind of system, a shopper is going to shop with the vendor first, and they're picking out their food. Let's say they're getting, to keep it simple, $10 of fruits and vegetables from Farmer Joe. Farmer Joe is going to write a receipt that says, this customer spent $10 at my stand. Customer is going to bring that to you as the market manager, and then you're going to swipe their card for the exact amount they spent. You verify that they paid. The shopper is going to bring their verified receipt back to the vendor, pick up their food, and take their groceries home. And you're going to reimburse Farmer Joe for that $10 in SNAP that was spent at his stand. And so this is just an overview of these two models. Once you're authorized to take SNAP, City Green can offer a more in-depth training of how to actually implement SNAP at your market. But this is just an overview of what those systems might look like for you. And there's pros and cons to each. I'm going to skip past this slide, but you will have these slides to look through. Signage is really important when you start taking SNAP, especially if you're newly SNAP authorized. You want to make it really clear to your shoppers that SNAP is welcome here and encourage them to use their SNAP dollars. So this is a sample of a sign that you might have. It's bilingual, it has multiple languages on it. It's got an image of the family's first card because that's what shoppers are going to recognize regardless of what language they speak. They're going to know if they have that family's first card and they see it, they know they can use their dollars there. And you also want to make sure your vendors know and understand how the SNAP system works, what can be paid for with SNAP dollars, and how tokens are distributed and redeemed. We recommend having like a cheat sheet that you print out for your vendors that explains what SNAP can be used to buy and how they accept the tokens. All right, so you're taking SNAP now. So the last step is not required, but we recommend it. It's to join City Green's Good Food Bucks SNAP Nutrition Incentive Program. So City Green operates a statewide nutrition incentive program called Good Food Bucks, where we double the value of SNAP. So anytime someone spends a SNAP dollar at your farm or market, we double it with Good Food Bucks that they can use to buy more fruits and vegetables. These are only for fruits and vegetables, and we fund your farmer market to accept these dollars. So we're paying for all those extra fruit and vegetable purchases. We're increasing food access, and people bring more healthy food to their tables. So once you're set up with your SNAP, we really strongly encourage you to reach out to us again to join our incentive program. And just a few helpful tips before I pass it off. Is you should try to process at least one SNAP transaction per year. The FNS does tend to deactivate FNS numbers that have not been active in a long time. If you have any changes in your contact information or address or your responsible official, you should contact the FNS to let them know. You may need to reapply if you have a change in responsible official. So again, you want to have that person be someone who's going to be there for the longer term. Your SNAP authorization is good for 5 years. Again, you'll get a letter and email after that point stating you need to reauthorize, and then you have 30 days to do so once you get that notice. Something else to be aware of is that the FNS may conduct an unannounced site visits. They do these, unannounced audits of SNAP authorized retailers, including grocery stores and farmers markets. So you want to make sure that you're operating SNAP with integrity and following the regulations for it, because they can come pay you a visit. Okay, so I'm going to pass it off to Jasmine, who's going to talk about how to reach a SNAP audience.
Hi, how's everybody doing today? Thanks for being here with us. I'm just really grateful that this group of you all have joined us on this mission of, connecting our neighbors in need with our farmers. And, this program is really special at City Green because we're able to, know that more people in New Jersey with limited incomes are eating more fresh vegetables, and that our farmer community and our ag community in New Jersey is similarly seeing increased incomes and revenues and expanded customer bases. So taking SNAP at farmers markets, at farm stands is really, a double win. And I want to talk to you a little bit about outreach, and like Lisa said, reaching those customers who use SNAP. Let's see. All right, so what is outreach? Outreach is, I think, like a catch-all term, especially if you're in kind of like a nonprofit or a community organization. You use it all the time. It means we're posting flyers. It means we're going to meetings. It means we're tabling. It can mean a lot of things. So I just wanted to narrow that down a little bit and, specifically say that what we're going to call outreach today is two-way communication between you and individuals, agency staff, leaders, elected officials, politicians, and your larger community to one, create understanding of what you're doing, and then promote participation and involvement in SNAP at the market. So outreach should result in more SNAP using customers at your market and more customers in general. So all of your existing avenues for spreading the word about your market are also really healthy channels to then add this piece of information that your market is now accepting SNAP or is accepting good food bucks, and reaching people who are not currently shopping using SNAP at your market is going to be the sweet spot. So what I want to do is talk about kind of like who uses SNAP in New Jersey, because I think that like we all, are community members in our own communities and active. And so what does a SNAP using customer look like? Who are they? Where might you find them? And I think that you know your community best, and you might know, having this conversation with us, how to target your outreach efforts or how to partner with specific organizations to reach these customers. So in New Jersey.
Can you just try resharing your screen? It looks like it's frozen and loading.
Oh, it's paused. Yeah, resume share. Is it back?
I'm just seeing a loading screen. Maybe I'll try.
I have a loading screen also.
Okay, why don't I try sharing from?
You can share.
My yeah.
I'll stop share.
Okay. All right, just let me know when you want me to flip sides.
Go ahead. So we're going to go to the who uses SNAP. Okay, so 60, and this is specific to New Jersey, 64% of SNAP using households are families with children. So the way that SNAP benefits are allocated, it's income per members in a household. So, that's something to consider, is that a household may be, have like 3 or 4 children, and even though the parents are working, or a parent may be working and employed, dividing those dollars among the household members is actually how you become income eligible for SNAP. So again, in your community, where are families with children located? Are they at daycare centers, after school programs, faith-based programs and after school or on the weekends? So one really strong thing to think about is like, where are you going to find these and the heads of households, right, that are doing the grocery shopping for their families? That's where you're going to find customers who are using SNAP. Again, 47% of families in SNAP who use SNAP are with older adults or disabled. So thinking about your community partners, and the places in your community where older adults are, where disabled members of your community are being serviced, or maybe serving resources, any sort of resource centers, again, is an appropriate place to think that you might be able to target SNAP customers. And then lastly, 44% of families that use SNAP in New Jersey are working families. So, I put that in there because we want to remember that shopping at a farmer's market it kind of requires that the family or the individual have some resources available to them, right? So these are working families who are maybe experiencing underemployment, or are living close to or below the poverty level, making close to minimum wage. And so these individuals are they're shopping for their family, they're working, they're cooking, they have refrigeration, and they have knives and cooking utensils available at their disposal, right? So sometimes people are like, oh, we'll go to the shelter, but that may not necessarily be like the same exact person that you're looking for, if they don't have kind of like those resources and facilities available to be able to prepare fresh produce. So you do want to consider that, you know, we are asking people to purchase fresh produce, so they do have to have kind of like the you know, come with something so that they can appropriately consume, prepare the food for their families and, you know, for themselves. You can go next. And understanding your target customers. So I use myself as an example, but what does a SNAP customer look like? They come in all forms of folks. And so this profile of a customer, you know, that we wrote up is somebody taking care of their sick parent, right? And so they had to stop working, and so they signed up for SNAP. You know, this is Jasmine. So my mom's health condition is improving and I can go back to work part-time. So I still need SNAP. Because I'm still having to make ends meet and feed myself and my disabled mother. Luckily, my mom makes a full recovery and I can return to work full time. And so I'm no longer on SNAP. So something to think about too is that SNAP, and what this illustrates, customers who use SNAP are not necessarily on SNAP for like years and years and years. People often come in and out of the SNAP program depending on their situation, you know, during that period of time. And then our other model customer, Sam, is working and unexpectedly has their hours cut, right? Another like real life situation. So Sam has to sign up for SNAP to help supplement wages. Sam is still working, right? But not as many hours, and the income isn't what it used to be. So Sam becomes SNAP eligible and is using SNAP in order to bridge, you know, the loss in income. So when we think about SNAP, you know, it's really important to remember that customers who use SNAP are neighbors, they're community members, they're our families, our friends. And so there's not going to be like one catch-all outreach technique that is going to be appropriate for, you know, to reach a SNAP using customer. Something else to keep in mind that I've read is that like in New Jersey specifically, large amounts of New Jerseyans are using smartphones and technology. So when you are thinking about how you're using your media budget and your outreach budget, we're going to talk about flyering. We're going to talk about media, social media, and then paid media as different outreach techniques. And these, I'm sure you've all thought of these or had some experience with some of these outreach techniques, like activating your partnerships. So that would be your community partners, distributing flyers and other printed materials. We just did a big flyer drop off at our summer meal site program here in Patterson. Who are, you know, where are the places where, again, where these families with children are going to be located, or adults with disability going to be located. Posting and advertising on social media. By and large, all demographics of Americans are on social media and receive a ton of information on social media, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all of those media channels do perform well with adults with lower incomes. So, you know, don't shy away from using social media to talk about your SNAP acceptance at your farmer's market. Hosting outreach events, speaking face-to-face with individuals, and that would be canvassing and what we'll call here at City Green pounding the pavement, and going out on the streets and, you know, connecting with people on a one-to-one basis, engaging with local press, and purchasing ads with local media. You can go next. So here's a quick list of some agency partners that may be in your larger community, perhaps not specifically in your municipality. For example, City Green, like we have our own farm stands and veggie mobile program, and all of these community partner sites do not exist in our headquarters municipality of Clifton, New Jersey. We're located in a suburb, kind of mixed incomes. We're surrounded by two larger cities that where families have lower incomes. And so these agencies exist in Patterson and to some extent in Passaic. So everyone's community is a mixed bag, but, you know, we get customers here at our Clifton location that come from another municipality. So you gotta remember that maybe there's not like all of these agencies in your town. Does the surrounding town have them? Does your county seat have these agencies? So you can help find your neighbors in need that are utilizing services. Low-income residences, Boys and Girls Clubs, YMCAs, preschools, Head Starts. Oops, that's okay. I remember this. Feeding programs, summer camp, faith-based institutions, supermarkets and corner stores. Again, thinking of heads of household and all the other responsibilities. I always like to go to laundromats and post flyers up when we're doing our canvassing over here in this area. Delis are all great places to hang up posters so that you can let everybody in your community know what's going on at your market. Hosting outreach events is a really fun and simple way. And if you're an existing farmers market, you may have done some of these things already. Senior Day, Special Kids Day, Farmers Market Week celebration, cooking nutrition demos, Meet a Farmer, any sort of health and wellness themed event at your market. Similarly, environmental themed events at your market. And then getting the community involved with like cooking recipe contests, or other service organizations. So hosting events at your market or in conjunction, in the promotion season with other agencies and other community organizations is a good way to reach a wider audience. And maybe you're gonna find a theme that resonates with like a larger community group in your neighborhood and a larger constituency as a way to draw more people in. Canvassing. This is what we call pounding a pavement flyer drop off. So this is just a quick kind of to-do list if you haven't undertaken canvassing before. Once you get it going, it's really easy. You can have volunteers, interns do it. Somebody from your neighborhood or community will know best what the retail districts are to go to, if there's residential areas that would be appropriate to attend or to visit. But here in Clifton, what we do is there's like 4 or 5 retail districts, like Main Street type areas. And so we just block out, like those are where we're doing our canvassing. We map those out. We pick our dates, we get our staff of interns or our outreach team together. We print our posters and flyers, and then they go pound the pavement. You always want to make sure that there's at least a buddy system. So at least to have 2 people doing canvassing at a time, just helps break up some awkwardness and, gives some support. Sometimes you need like extra stuff. You want to make sure that everyone's bringing tape, and masking tape and Scotch tape, and has a variety of flyers that are appropriate to your community and the languages that are spoken in your community. And then your flyer drop-offs, then you wrap up and just record what you've done, which neighborhoods you went to, how many flyers you're dropped off so that you can replicate that again the following year. Some like little extra things to do if you're canvassing. So that if you want to know exactly like, how this is working, is to print flyers that say like, bring this flyer and get a sticker, bring this flyer and get, 2 market dollars if that's in your budget. We've done some serial numbers on flyers or other outreach materials sometimes that we've printed just to see what the return rate is. Got to be honest, it's like really hit or miss. Some do well better than others. And that's also a way that we've also tested the efficacy of our agency partnerships. So, we'll give the yellow flyers, and we'll give, the church around the church food pantry around the corner orange flyers. And which flyers do we get more of, right? That's like color coded. So who's bringing back the most amount of flyers? And then you can see, kind of test your outreach efforts and your flyering efforts. But I do think that being in those busy places where people are is really important, and having those like posters hung up goes a long way. Even though specifically there's so many different ways to reach people. You can go to the next slide. Social media. Again, I think that we are all not lost on the power of social media. We like hashtags because they help connect and thread together things. So like if we're all using something that we like Jersey Fresh, we use a lot. Jersey Grown, hashtag Eat Better Tonight, which is a play on the term EBT, / New Jersey NJ Snap, our hashtag NJ Snap are all hashtags, and like this whole list here that are going to help group your photos together with other similar photos. People can search by tags, and then the algorithm just kind of reads it better and likes to see, like, puts it to the top if there's some popularity behind those tags. You can go to the next page. This is the anatomy of a good social media post. You don't specifically have to have customers' faces, right? You can take pictures of your farmers and of the tables of the produce, side profiles, backs of heads, of customer shopping. Really takes into account people's privacy. So if you're not sure about taking photos at a farmer's market, ask your farmer vendors. Farmers, take photos of your stands. Have someone come around and take a photo from behind the customer so that you don't have to worry about any privacy issues. And then you can get a good active picture of your farmer's market. All you really need is like 2 customers and a table of produce to capture a good photo. Anytime from June through September, October, you're going to get some really great colorful shots. And we like to have a variety and to make sure that we have like a good fall picture to fall back onto and a great spring picture to always use, and you'll be able to use them multiple times, throughout your season. Here's some more examples of good photos. Again, a lot of staff. We've got our SNAP acceptance signs here, customer shopping, and then the market manager table that really illustrates what the SNAP program is doing. Another technique that we have tried and had some really good results with is advertising on social media. So when you post to Facebook or Instagram from your business account, you'll notice that there'll be like a little boost post button at the bottom. That's really helpful for like the beginning of the season, for any special events, or if you feel like you've kind of had a dip in attendance and you just want to like repost and make sure that everybody's seeing what's going on. When you're boosting a post, the Instagram and Facebook don't really like too much text on the photo, and so they actually won't like boost something that's too much. This one that I have, my Earth Day volunteer kickoff, that's not a great example. Like Facebook would probably come back to me and tell me there's too much text in that photo. The one to your left, the veggie plant sale, that's an example of a good social media post to boost. It's a really general photo. It cuts straight to the point. There's not a lot of words. There's more photo in there. It just has the dates. And then you use the copy section to type in all of the details and link people back to your market. Boosting is a really budget-friendly way to gain exposure in your community. Specifically with the Facebook and Instagram boosts, they let you target by zip code and radius miles from that zip code. So we will go in, we have a harvest festival coming up at the end of the month. About 14 days out from our harvest festival, we'll go into our Facebook page, we'll boost our post for the city of Patterson and then like 5 miles surrounding. And the Facebook minimum to boost a post, I think, is like $6 to $7 a day. So you can really use your budget smartly with doing some social media boosting. I would say, like, for your markets, if this is new, like accepting SNAP or Families First, at my market is a really healthy way to use some of your budget in the beginning of the season, and you can keep it going for as many weeks as you can kind of afford. And here's something that this is like kind of new to this presentation, but we've also had some really good results with some media buys and specifically purchasing like print ads and display ads that you would find on nj.com or northjersey.com. Some of those larger websites used to be the Star Ledger. Up here by us, we used to have the Record. And so reaching out to those larger papers to see what their rates are is never a bad idea. And I have 2 different versions. Clifton is a city. It's much larger than the Passaic Valley Today municipalities. But you can see Passaic Valley Today, 8 weeks of a quarter-page ad runs about $700, and this is North Jersey prices. So think about your geography too. If you're in a more suburban or rural or less populated area, the pricing will go down just because we've had these conversations with a lot of media people. So The more people that are viewing your display ad on northjersey.com or nj.com, the higher the price gets. So when we buy at markets like Newark and Patterson, they tend to be more expensive. And then if we would move to a more suburban market, a less densely populated market, the prices actually go down. And again, they can send direct emails from nj.com or northjersey.com. They can email their list. They can target people by what they've purchased in the past, by their income levels. So these are conversations to start thinking about now and seeing if you have it in your budget to do one email blast or to do a couple of weeks in the beginning of your season of like a social media display ad. I think, Lisa, we've had some really like positive results with some of the ads that we've taken out in the newspapers.
Yeah, and I think like specifically, we've reached a lot of seniors, older adults with our newspaper ads in our municipalities. And as we know, that's, a lot of SNAP users are seniors. So that's a really good way to reach that target audience, especially.
And then using Canva to create. So all of the graphics that you see in front of you, the slideshow, the logos, the flyers, the social media posts with text overlay, our whole entire goodfoodbucks.com website was used creating this service called canva.com. It's free to start off with. We, as an organization running this gigantic programs, pay $12 a month for the pro version gladly. And we found it really has raised the bar on what we're able to create here in-house and without needing a graphic designer. Canva pro tip, there's so many tutorials on every social media channel. Biggest recommendation, if you have not dipped your toe into Canva, is that they come with like pre-made templates. And so the secret to being a successful Canva creator is to use a pre-made template and just pop your information in, like replace the information. That way you don't have to worry about, is my design cute or current or match anything? You just make your colors representative of your brand and then change the text to what you want it to say. And Canva's been, really a good skill for a lot of our staff to learn. And so I'm sure there's somebody on your team who would love to dive into Canva and learn how to make like beautiful flyers and Instagram posts and stories and all of that. Is that it? I'm done.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jasmine. That's great.
Thank you.
Especially useful, like Jasmine was saying at the beginning, there's no like secret sauce to reaching SNAP users because every demographic has SNAP users in it. So this is some really great, helpful tips for reaching general audiences.
Right. And we haven't cracked the code. I think, we've been running our own farm stand for 11 years and we haven't cracked the code. Like I said, we haven't perfected it. We do all of the things, right? We do the flyering and we do the communication with our partner agencies and we do the social media posting and we do the ad buying, so that we can reach as wide as an audience as possible.
Yeah, thanks, Jasmine. All right, so we're going to pass it off to Lisa Newcomb now from Crops NJ. Crops is a Good Food Bucks partner, so they're part of our Good Food Bucks Nutrition Incentive Program and have done a really amazing job of creating food access in South Jersey. And so Lisa's going to share with us about what Crops does and some of their experiences in becoming a SNAP authorized market and a WIC authorized market. So Lisa, I'll pass it off to you.
Thanks. All right, hang on. There we go. Okay, can you see that? Yeah, cool. All right. So I know some names on the call. Andy, hi. CROP stands for Communities Revolutionizing Open Public Spaces. As Lisa said, we're a nonprofit organization in Atlantic County, and we have several different farmers markets. We have a farmers market in Atlantic City, a farmers market in Pleasantville, and then our longest standing farmers market is Linwood. So I'm probably not saying anything that Jasmine and Lisa didn't say already. This is our hashtag that we go with for the farmers market, is the Feel Good Farmers Market. We've been SNAP authorized since 2020. And we just recently got our WIC authorization this year. So back in, I believe, February or March was when we officially got our authorization to accept WIC. So I think we're one of the only SNAP markets in South Jersey. I did talk to Galloway's market before they became SNAP authorized, and I know that they have been SNAP authorized for over a year now too. And then for as far as
real quick, because the screen is not loading. I'm not sure why that's happening, but I'm wondering if I should just share from my screen as well. I do have your slides up.
Oh yeah, that's fine.
Sorry about that. Let me just switch over here.
Oh, somebody tried to tell me. Andy tried to tell me. Thank you.
Okay. Let me just switch. Okay.
So that's our hashtag. We use the hashtag Feel Good Farmers Market on all of our market posts. And I was just going over, there's not a lot of SNAP authorized farmers markets down here. It's not the way that it is up north in northern New Jersey. And another thing that kind of illustrates that point is there's only 6 farmers markets statewide that accept the WIC benefits and the FMNP, the Farmers Market Nutrition Program benefits, which is the WIC, the paper check vouchers that go to both WIC customers as well as the senior farmers market nutrition vouchers as well. And so there's only 6 statewide. We're the only one in the southern part of the state. So we've got a lot of growth to achieve, I think, in the southern part of the state, and kind of making our farmers markets and our farms and our pathways to food a little bit more accessible the way that they do in the northern part of the state. And then I also wanted to touch on the fact, I believe someone from City Green is here. I think I saw Lauren sign in. Is we also came up with a mobile farmers market model this year, but with in partnership with the Sustainable Jersey program, but through our partnership with the city of Pleasantville. And then just a brief overview of the other things that we do is we've got community gardens and communal urban farms where people are allowed to come and pick from them anytime they want. We have a paid internship program and also a scholarship program so that we can hire interns that are actually from the communities where our farmers markets and our gardens are. And then our scholarship works to get vendors from the area, from Pleasantville and Atlantic City and Linwood, set up to be vendors at the farmers markets. We're also opening a storefront space inside Tanger Outlet. So those of you who are local, October 21st, we would love to have you join us for the grand opening of the store. But we can go to the next slide. I'm just going to kind of give my 2 cents on the process, for becoming SNAP authorized. It's rigorous. You're dealing with a government institution. And part of what I was when I appreciated what you were saying, Lisa, about you've got to ask yourself in the beginning, why? What's your why? Why are you doing it for the farmers market? Our why was because it's the right thing to do. And because we want everybody to feel welcome at our farmers markets. And that's a big thing that we feel at Crops, that we actually grow as a community in a stronger sense if we've got people from all different backgrounds working together on something. So, a farmers market is a really great example of that. Is you have all these different people from different backgrounds, people shopping at the market, people that are vending at the market, people that are running the market, people that are promoting the market. It's a lot of different, it takes a lot of different types of people to make an event like that happen, and to make it something that people want to come to regularly and look at as a community event, a community owned marketplace. So I think that, and this is actually to the point of a lot of what, Sustainable Jersey does too, is if your market's not right for doing SNAP and the Good Food Bucks program and maybe WIC, work with another market that is, and make sure that your customers who come through your market know that, hey, actually a few miles away, there is another farmers market that does accept SNAP and does accept WIC. But if you're going to take on becoming SNAP authorized and maybe WIC authorized, which I highly recommend. One of the best things that I can say is check back. Call the phone number. If you have a question, call the phone number that Lisa provided in her presentation. Call the hotline, ask questions, note the dates that you receive things and communications from them, because mistakes can happen. You know, we had a really big mistake happen when we did become SNAP authorized. For whatever reason, the way that they processed the application, they were reading our market, like our physical market location, as our mailing address. And so when it came time for them to mail us our POS system to accept the SNAP cards at the market, they were trying to send it to a parking lot. And so, of course, UPS wasn't dropping it off because there was no physical address for us at that location. We were a moving market, you know? So the best thing you can do is save those contact information, save that contact information in a safe place and reach out to City Green. I know, Andy, I offered to get coffee with you when you're further along in the process and help you out with it. Make sure that you have that contact information saved and don't hesitate to reach out to people, because you don't want something that realistically might only take 2 months to actually take you 4 months like it did with us. You can go to the next slide. That market is our Chelsea market. This one's our old Pleasantville market when it was still in one spot. We do the Pleasantville market now is mobile. So we go to multiple locations throughout the city of Pleasantville. It actually just ended on September 28th. And then you can go to the next slide too. This is another image from our Chelsea market in O'Donnell Park in Atlantic City. And then I did put a couple of things on outreach, and this is definitely not, of course, to disagree with anything that Jasmine said. We've found that social media doesn't always work, but a lot of that is connected to our mission and our why. You know, a big part of our goal was to enable more customers in Pleasantville and Atlantic City to be able to participate in farmers markets. If your farmers market exists where your farmers market does exist where it exists already, you know, maybe that's not your mission necessarily in what we do, and the different customers that we work with, like they may not always have phones, they may not be on social media. Some of the housing authority complexes that we work with are senior living facilities, and like not a lot of those people are on social media, but a lot of those other, like talking to the people who run those properties, property managers for low income housing complexes helps. I think the relationship building really does help. And that was something I was going to touch on too, with everything that Jasmine went over with the outreach and the cost of the outreach. Something that I have found has been like incredibly helpful to us is to connect with the municipality. And sometimes that looks like, you know, whether it's the business administrator for the municipality, or it's like maybe you could talk to somebody from from Sustainable Jersey and ask about like the green team in that community. If your community has a green team, connect with them. If your community doesn't have a green team, but you know of a green team nearby, that green team can also get points for supporting your farmers market, whether it's in the same municipality or not. So something that you could ask of them would be like, hey, could you pay for our flyers for the farmers market for this season? Because flyers from June until October, get that agreement out there in the beginning of the year before the season has started, and they can put it into their budget. They'll reimburse you for that. So I think that that's like, you know, I'm always a person who's like, talk to your municipality, because it's a good resource, and it's not a resource that I think a lot of our younger generations are used to accessing. You know, we're kind of used to saying like, oh, well, they just do what they do, and, you know, we just go along with it. But if you talk to people who work there, and you talk to people that are able to make those decisions, and the county too, we just got a retired vehicle, a retired prison transport van donated to our organization from the county to help us with some of the you know, produce moving and things like that. So asking for things, sometimes you will get a lot further than you realize. And I think a lot of farmers markets do have the support of the city that they're in too. So you probably already have those connections. If you already submit a mercantile license and you already, you know, submit a special events permit and things like that, you probably already know someone who could potentially take some money from somewhere to use on promoting something, which is a quality of life, you know, element for a lot of places. And a lot of places too, if you're, especially down here, have tourism dollars to put towards that too. So it's just a thought. We have had the city of Pleasantville in the past has paid for a radio ad. They have mailed our flyers out with their quarterly tax bill. We've tabled at other events like Andy's Ventnor Farmers Market. We were there twice this summer. Word of mouth is big. One of our page from our organization has a tomato costume that she puts on, and she stands on the side of the road on Main Street in Pleasantville and gives out flyers. Something that's been huge for us this year actually is our iPads at the market. We had 2 different grants that paid for iPads for this year, and data collection has gone up a lot. And so we're able to send out things like quarterly newsletters and know that they're getting to the people that really need them and really want to hear about that stuff. And you can go to that's actually a picture of us. That's us getting ready for a little community canvassing that we did. That's my my daughter there. She came with us and 1 or 2 of our interns and Paige and I and our market manager. So the next slide is just an example of like we put out at the beginning of the spring and at the beginning of the fall, we put out these postcard size schedules so that people know where we're going to be all summer long. And then on the flip side of that, we usually put something about the fact that we take SNAP, the Good Food Bucks program, and this year we added WIC. So you can go to the next one. You can go to the next one. These are just examples of what we use. I know Lisa already went over like the entire currency, the methods and everything. These are actually, I think, our old Good Food Bucks dollars, but they're still in circulation. Every once in a while, we get like a couple that come back that are from last season. And we do use the thicker, like embossed business cards. They've lasted us for 2 seasons now, and they're still doing really well and they're fine. We do dollar increments. I suggest starting from experience, starting out with $1 increments because it's a lot easier. And because you're not allowed to give out change. I don't know what the difference, I'm not entirely sure that this is totally different, but I feel like the farmers markets I've been to down here versus farmers markets getting closer to like Philly, and maybe potentially farmers markets in North Jersey might have some vendors with like higher value items. So maybe it's not a problem to have the $5 like currency increments, but I think here it would be very easy to go to a tent and not spend $5 on something. So we started out with dollar increments and we've never increased it in the last couple of years. And this is, more of just like the reasons that we take SNAP is we think farmers markets are for everyone. And the fact that we've been able to work with City Green and the Double Bucks program is really a big selling point for SNAP customers. And, the food benefit, the people accessing the numbers of food benefits are up because of COVID. It's I think that's still being felt by a lot of people. And then those last 2 points are kind of like, I think that you have to expect that you're going to get a little bit of friction from some of your vendors. Like some of your vendors' reactions might be like, well, why are we doing this now? And just because you're taking SNAP as the facilitator of the market, does that mean that we have to serve SNAP customers too? Like we've had people say to us, like, I don't want to serve SNAP customers. And I think on our end, it's just a little bit of education. Like, what Jasmine was saying, like almost half of SNAP customers are actually working families. The cost of living has not exactly matched the percentage of inflation in the last few years. So you may not even know that people that you talk to all the time at school pickup or school drop off are actually using SNAP. And there's no reason why we shouldn't invite them to be a part of our farmers market. But there's also no reason why, I think from the vendor's perspective too, the dollars that go towards SNAP, like we as citizens of the United States pay for them. They are paid for by tax dollars, some of them anyway. And so why should SNAP dollars go to the CEO of Walmart versus stay here and go to the farmers that actually farm and spend their money in New Jersey? I think that was one way that we were able to an analogy that we were able to present to some of our farmers to some of our vendors who were not interested and actually didn't want us to accept SNAP. You know, it's one way for they, you know, that's kind of the whole philosophy behind local, shop local and shop small and small business Saturday, vote with your dollar. Like SNAP customers should be allowed to vote with their dollars too, and they can. You know, if we want to stop like the takeover of Walmart on our communities, then we've got to be our entire community can participate in a farmer's market. And these are just some people visiting our garden. That's the type of produce that we bring from our actual urban farms to the market too. And I think that's it. These are our social media handles. That's our website. There's my email if you want to contact me.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lisa. It's really great to hear what this looks like in practice and some different experiences of getting SNAP authorized and running SNAP out your market. We know every market, every community is different and you might encounter different obstacles. So we really appreciate you sharing what's worked and what hasn't worked for your market. That was great to hear.
Yeah, that's amazing. They sent your flyer with a tax bill.
Yeah, that was a big win, big deal for us, because it's very difficult to do things like send out flyers through the school because it needs to be like approved by the school board and things like that. So
I got my first flyers through the school for the first time in 11 years.
Yeah.
Like I've been trying for 11 years. I just got it done this year.
Yeah, it's very difficult. So I find that the municipality is actually a way around some of those obstacles because they want those bragging rights. Like they really do. It is a kind of like from an egotistical standpoint, the municipality wants to be excellent. They want to be the best at something. So they want to promote positive things.
Right. We should, I think a lot of us have heard this though, but farmers markets are a community amenity. They're an amenity for the, you know, for the town or the city.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. All right, so that concludes our presentation. So we have a few minutes left. If anyone has any questions, you can feel free to, you know, come on camera, unmute yourself, or put them in the chat, and we'll, chat about any questions or concerns anyone has.
So I don't know if anyone can hear me. This is Ruth Kendall
Hey,
from
Ruth.
Just Organics and the Honey Tree. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. So we actually have a retail operation and we've always been interested in SNAP. We were in Northfield for 45 years. The actual Honey Tree was over there for 45 years. And Keith and I, my husband, we purchased it about 8 years ago. We were off the beaten track. We were where people couldn't have access to transportation. And so we didn't really see the necessity at the time, but now we've moved to Summers Point. We actually bought an organic produce business. And so we've been doing farmers markets and sort of attending around town. This is our first year sort of attending. We don't have it's not a real welcome simply because we are distributors. We are not farmers, but what we're attempting to do is to reach out to our local farmers and to bring in their products to sell to our home delivery folks. Mm-hmm. So we do about 100 boxes a week of home delivery of organic fruits and vegetables and marketplace items. And so what we're looking to do in Summers Point, we're in an EZ zone down at the end of Summers Point. And so the direct market for SNAP for us would be the Summers Point Village, which is literally our neighbor. And we do have people that come in. And we've been asked a lot, do you accept SNAP and how can we do this? And then as we attended the farmers markets and talked to people from crops and realized, well, wait a second now, we need to figure out how to do this in South Jersey so that we can be the distributor that brings the farmer, the regional farmer, the local artisan, which we do, and bring them to the community. So that's what we're looking to do as a retailer, not necessarily as a market organizer. We like to be in attendance, and get involved in those SNAP, those good bucks and all of that. Like, I love that idea. I think that's awesome. So currently we don't sell anything at the markets. We just simply do outreach. We let people know that when the winter is here and the markets are quiet and the gardens have been put to bed, we are a year-round service that can bring you good organic fruits and vegetables year-round. So that's where we're trying to figure out where we fit in with our farmers and our local community to be able to support, especially the Summers Point Village, which is hundreds of low-income housing and many SNAP recipients, not to mention our seniors. So that's where we're kind of like wondering
Yeah, so if you're aggregating food from different producers and different farmers, you can apply to be SNAP authorized as a food buying cooperative.
Okay,
So you would use the store application, and then one of the questions it asks you to choose like which type of retailer you are, and there's a food buying cooperative option. So that's what you would choose. Because your food distribution model is a little bit unique, I would recommend calling the retailer service center to run it by them and see if there's any red flags. But my understanding is that it would be no problem for you to become SNAP authorized as a food buying cooperative. The other suggestion is if you're attending farmers markets to do your food box giveaways or to do outreach, encourage those markets to become SNAP authorized if they're not already, so they can take SNAP on your behalf.
oh, okay, very good.
Yeah.
And then do you see any real roadblocks with being retail as well as distribution? Because we have the home delivery service, it's two separate corporations, and sort of trying to marry them. I know that it probably would require separate applications and, you know, some kind of crossover.
Yeah.
That would be the retailer center would probably be my best resource.
I think so.
Yeah.
I'm not sure specifically, like, I know that there are other organizations that do that same thing where they're aggregating food from different producers and selling it as like a CSA style box or a vegetable box, and they've had no problem becoming SNAP authorized as a cooperative.
Okay.
So off the top of my head, I don't see any roadblocks, but I would definitely call and double check the retailer service center.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I will also say that the transportation piece to that is like such a huge piece because our SNAP numbers, like SNAP dollars spent at our markets, have never been higher than when we mobilized our farmers market in Pleasantville. Because we're reaching more people, we're bringing the food to them or to a centralized area that's near a lot of people that want to use their SNAP cards. Like that is something that really boosted our numbers a lot this summer.
Well, I could see where our home delivery service could be, because we also have a fundraising component on our website where it's not really moving because we just recently took over that part of the business where we could have schools and other organizations who want to have a fundraising component where we have one drop off, one delivery, one central location, be it a school, or we're working with Atlanta Christian School right now to try to develop something, but be it a school or a community center where we could have it out there that yes, on this certain day, this amount of food is being delivered here. And we could also bring our excess because we do have a fair amount of excess, very good food that we start out by severely discounting. And that would work out for the Bucks and the SNAP people because they would also be able to really triple what they're getting at that point. And then we give it to our neighbors, we give it to our friends, we eat it as much as we possibly can eat. And then we give it to the animals. At the very, very end, when it's at its end of its life, and some of it isn't, we literally try to just give it away to people walking through the door or take it to local rescue shelters. So we're working on that to get a little bit better with that so that the waste, because we want to be as sustainable as possible to bring it back and make sure that the food is even being given to the animals that need it or the people that need it. So we have churches. These are all like my employees church group and a former employee that was with us. We do it to her church group, but I would like to go beyond just what we're doing right now and expand.
Yeah, that's great. And, I think Jasmine mentioned this before, but it is important to note like emergency food relief is different from your SNAP shoppers. So it's great to have both options, but it's likely not going to be the same demographic. This like emergency donation food versus customers who are coming to shop for their weekly groceries. So just keep that in mind as you're, thinking about how you're distributing your food and, taking payment or not taking payment for it.
Exactly.
Thank
you.
Fantastic.
Thanks so much.
Hey there, ladies. It's Andy from Ventnor. Good
Hi,
afternoon.
Andy.
Hi.
Hi, Lisa N. Thank you all. Great presentation. Can I circle back, I guess, Lisa Martin, to the deck on the application? A couple simple questions may sound stupid, but and Lisa Newcomb and I had discussed one of these questions when I was over at Linwood a few weeks back. when you do the application, and I started that process and I got stuck where it started asking for sales and breakdowns. And
Okay.
am I correct in your deck that you talked about just listing our gross receipts and sales for the farmers market, and it doesn't really matter what our vendors themselves are selling? Is that correct?
Right. So if you've been operating for you've been open for more than 1 year, yes,
Yes.
you can use your the gross retail sales on your tax return from the previous year as your sales number.
Okay, and then if I remember right, it started asking for breakdown of fruits and veggies and other kinds of things. Do I sort of just make it up? I have no
You can
idea.
provide a good faith estimate. So they even say that in their instructions. You're providing your like best estimate. The USDA understands that farmers markets, like you're not going to have exact sale numbers from all of your vendors. They
Right.
understand that. So use the best numbers that you have. When it comes to like the stocking unit questions and all of that, you're giving your best faith estimate based on the vendors that you have at your market. So if you have like, you know, a meat vendor that you know typically has like 5 varieties of poultry to buy or whatever, you would use that as your stocking unit. Fruits and vegetables, it's always going to be like 10 plus typically if you have a farmer that has a lot of variety. Yeah, so I wouldn't get too hung up on getting like the exact numbers right. You want to give a reasonable estimate based on previous
Okay,
years.
okay, great, thank you, because I stopped right there and I said, oh my gosh, what am I putting in? Because I have no clue.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, the USDA understands. They're going to call you. What's that?
I was
Lisa?
gonna say, I specifically remember going through that part and just being like, I don't know. I'm just
Exactly.
gonna guess.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, so I paused at that
table.
point. I paused at that point, and I think I saved it, so hopefully I can go back in and continue on.
Yeah.
My other question, again, it may sound simplistic. Am I assuming that the definition of nonprofit is federal versus state? Is that correct?
It's a tax status, so you have to have a 501(c)(3) tax status.
Okay,
to
so that would be federal. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, in terms of the process. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Great
of
job.
course.
Thank you again.
Thank you. Thanks for the great questions. Anyone else have any questions? Okay, so I guess we'll wrap up. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending. Thank you, Lisa, for presenting on your experience over at Crops. So for everyone in attendance, we will share out these slides and the presentation and our How to Become a SNAP Authorized workbook to everyone. So you'll have access to them after today. And always feel free to reach out to us, me and Jasmine, and I'm sure Lisa are also always open to questions or concerns. Yeah, so it was great having you all. Have a wonderful afternoon, and we hope to hear from you soon.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.
Bye.